Hi, this week I interviewed Matt Olzniaks, who is mainly a French teacher, and he's a tech leader in his school. One of the key things that we talked about that was kind of new for me is the idea of a native technology user as opposed to an immigrant technology user. I myself would be an immigrant because I'm a little older. When I grew up, a lot of the technologies that we have that kids are taking for granted were not yet there. But now kids are growing up with tablets and smartphones. It's all they know. And so while these kids may still be younger, maybe in middle school or so, they're going to be getting into my classroom in high school, and they're going to have different expectations about using technology. For one thing, the immigrant technology users might see it as an intrusion when the teacher gives an assignment through email or something like that, asking the students to do things at home, like watching videos or lectures. They may see that as breaking into the preferred technology use they would have, like playing games or things like that. And so that's kind of new. It's transition. It's a different attitude for them, and a different attitude maybe for me than the kids that are coming up, these younger kids, these native technology users are going to have. Another thing along that idea of changing attitudes is teacher acceptance, and that's teacher acceptance of using different technologies in the classroom. When learning a new thing, it's not good to have too much at once, and Matt emphasized the idea of one thing, especially for teachers who are resistant to learning new technologies, that they can focus on one thing, become an expert in that, and then add things as other things come along. Another thing that go along with that is that different teachers are going to have different things that they want to use in the classroom. So while one teacher may want to have an interactive whiteboard, another teacher might want to do things primarily through an iPad or a bamboo tablet or something like that. And so it's important to allow different teachers to use what's going to work for them in their classroom. It's difficult when the administration forces everyone to implement something new, and that can also be a big waste of money. Now, how did this interview change my view? Well, one of the things was that idea of native learners, because I haven't really experienced that yet. I'm a high school teacher, and so they're still maybe in middle school. Now, my students might be somewhat comfortable with technology, but they're still resistant to new things. Like I have a flipped classroom. When they come into my classroom, that's a new thing for them. They may have had little bits and pieces of that, but to do that for the whole year, that's a new idea. And there was a little bit of a resistance to doing that. Or another thing, that my students are still carrying around their big, heavy paper textbooks to class and take them home, when really they could be just using their online textbook that they do have access to. If they would just bring their devices to class, they could just leave their books in their locker or not even check them out. But one of the things that stood out is I will need to continue to adapt, because the attitudes of my students are going to be changing dramatically over the next few years. And it might be a while before we settle into a native culture and just get used to what those learners will expect. As for the one thing, I think about this as a way to encourage teachers who might be resistant to learning new cultures. Learning might be difficult if there's too much at once, and so by encouraging teachers to become experts in one thing, it not only gives them confidence, it also allows you to have different experts within the school to be able to go to for advice on different things. So for my future, I think that this would help, because in leading professional development seminars, I shouldn't be pushing one idea over other things, but allow teachers the freedom to choose and think about what is going to work for them, and encourage them, push them to try new things, but trust them to know what's going to work, what's going to complement their teaching and their learning objectives. Thank you.